Qiyana is one of the easiest champions to play. At least that's what many haters say about the champion. I'm here to tell you this is not true. In fact, she is one of the hardest, if not the hardest champion to learn and play. You might ask yourself, why is that? Well, there are many reasons for it. She has a very unique way of laning, she has extremely hard combos to execute with multiple animation cancels, and she has some very specific macro concepts that you need to use in order to win your games. I can guarantee you that after this video you will have everything that you need in order to start playing Qiyana as a beginner. Before we get started with the guide, make sure to join my coaching program on Skoll. It's only $5 per month and you get access to over 16 live coaching sessions with me per month. You also get access to my premium Discord, where I am personally answering all of your questions that are League of Legends related, helping you become the best player you can possibly be. Check the link in the description. And now, let's get started with the video. Why should you even play Qiyana to begin with? Well, first of all guys, Qiyana is extremely fun. I know this is highly subjective, but for most people, that's the main reason why they play Qiyana. There are other champions that are more effective in less time. For example, if you play Syndra, you can probably learn that champion within 50 to 100 games and have quite some decent success on her and even a positive win rate if you do a couple of things properly. If you compare that to Qiyana, you need a lot more games in order to get really good at the champion. But the fun factor is most of the time the main reason why you can even get to that game amount, because she is extremely satisfying to play, so that's the first reason. The second reason is kill pressure early on. Qiyana is one of the few champions that has multiple ways of dealing with hard matchups. You can, for example, completely sacrifice the first wave, you can start E. You can just give up all the minions level 1 and grab grass early on with your W level 1, and then you can, for example, try to trade level 2, which they don't expect. You can run Conqueror for all-ins 100 to 0 level 2 and kill enemies with Ignite. You can run Electrocute with TP. There are so many things you can do when it comes to killing people early that this champion is really hard to deal with up to a certain level, honestly. Like, at some point it gets harder, but up until that point, you can have so much fun with Qiyana early on. The next reason is side laning. Qiyana is one of the best side laners in the entire game, especially with the grass, and if you have enough ability haste, it's quite hard to collapse on them onto the side lane, and she has some decent tower damage as well. So she's a great side laner, and especially in lower elos, this is quite important since people most of the time don't really defend side lanes, but we'll talk about that later. And then we have the ultimate. Guys, Qiyana's R is probably the best ultimate in the entire game when it comes to team fighting and skirmishes. And using that ult is so satisfying and enjoyable that I can promise you, if you land the first good R with Qiyana, you will be extremely addicted to the champion. Now that we have the whys out of the way, let's move on to the next topic. Guys, there are Conqueror pages, there are First Strike pages, but they are quite complicated to use, and I would say a lot weaker. I really like people to just use one page for a very long time and just get used to it and then play it all the time. That way you can focus on your gameplay instead of actually focusing on the items and runes and whatever, right? You focus on other things way too much. People overcomplicate items and ask me about what they should be building like every 2 days, which makes no sense at all because you should just be focusing on the gameplay. Look at your mistakes, right? And not look at the items every 2 days and try to improve that. So yeah, you should be going for good runes and good items, but most of the time people overemphasize it way too hard. So when it comes to Qiyana, guys, make sure to run this page right here, exactly this page. You can run Treasure Hunter or Ultimate Hunter, both are viable. I wouldn't recommend running Relentless. Personally, I don't like it because you don't really get that much value from it. Treasure makes you snowball a lot harder earlier on, and Ultimate gives you ult cooldown instantly after getting it. So for consistency reasons, I am running Ultimate Hunter most of the time. But yeah, this is the build that you should be going. This is really good for short trades. And Deep Ward is also very good for a specific thing that we are using in the gameplay section later on. Alright guys, getting to the items, this is actually quite simple. So when it actually comes to Qiyana items, there is not much to say. So what you really want to do, guys, you really want to be going Longsword and 3 potions all the time, every single game, and also Ignite and Flash. The reason why I do this is because as a beginner, you really need to limit test a lot, and you need to play as aggressive as you possibly can every single lane that you are playing. In order to be able to do that, you're running quite an aggressive setup, and that setup enables you to have more trades and have an easier time actually learning the limits of the champion. After having Longsword, you usually want to go for Dirk on the first base, and after that you want to start building into your Profane. This can mean that you get 2 Longswords, this can mean that you get Tiamat instantly, this can mean if you have Pickaxe. And now we have a gold pyramid, okay? So if you only have 350 gold after Dirk, you go for Longsword. If you have 700 gold, you go for 2 long swords. If you have 850 gold, you go for the Tiamat. Sorry, if you have 1000, actually screwed up the order. If you have 875 gold, you go for the pickaxe. If you have 1200 gold, you go for the Tiamat. And if you have enough for Brutalizer, obviously you go for the Brutalizer. Right? So a build could either look like this. You could have serrated Dirk and 2 long swords. You could have Dirk and a pickaxe. You could have Dirk and a Tiamat. Or you could have Dirk and a Brutalizer. Then you finish your Profane and then you build situational items. This means that you still have the Dirk, right? And the Dirk can build into the Edge of Night, it can build into Hubris, it can build into Serpents. These items are pretty self-explanatory. Serpents into a lot of tanks, Edge of Night into a lot of CC, and Hubris if you just want to snowball. So these are the 3 items you can go for. Let's actually say you go for Hubris here. What you want to be doing then is after that you want to go for Cyrilda's Grudge in most of the games. If they have no armor instead of Cyrilda's Grudge, you can also go for Opportunity, right? But most of the time they do have a lot of armor, so you want to go for Cyrilda's Grudge as your 3rd item. After Grudge, you can go for Edge of Night if you didn't get it 2nd. If you got Edge of Night 2nd instead of Hubris, you can go for Opportunity as a 4th item. And then you have your boots, which are the Ionian boots, right? So that's also like a very important factor here. So you go Ionian boots, you buy them whenever it fits, of course. And after you have Ionian boots, I mean, you can also theoretically go for plated steel caps or for MR boots, but only if it's like worth it, depending on the comp. Yeah, and then you have a couple of options here. So with Qiyana specifically, guys, you have first of all the option to go GA if they have a lot of lethal threat. You can go for Death Stance if they have a lot of armor. AD damage. And you can go for Morph Memories as your last item in case they have a lot of magic damage or like double AP. Let's actually say Cartus, let's say Echo, right? These are champions where you could be going for that exact item. If they have none of that, what you can also do is you can go for Spear of Shojin. It gives you ability haste, it gives you HP and also like more AD. So this is an item I really like to go for, especially if you want to play around your stealth a lot more, since it reduces the W cooldown quite hard, and that makes it easier for you to permanently be in stealth. So a full build could, for example, look like this. You have your Ionian Boots, you have your Profane, you have Hubris, you have Cyrilda's, and then you have Edge of Night and Guardian Angel. This is what I actually build quite often. And sometimes this build looks also like this. Like this is also a build that I am going for quite often. So you have Profane, you have Serpents, you have Cyrilda's, you have Edge of Night, you have J. Yeah, so these are builds you could be going for. And the reason why I do this is because I want you to keep it really simple with the items. Just go for this every single game. Don't overcomplicate it. Yes, guys, there are other builds, but for me, it's really just to have you as a consistent player and as a beginner. I just want you to be consistent, go for the same build every game. Just adapt the second lethality item that you have, and that's about it. So now you can focus on the gameplay a lot better, and you don't have to worry about stuff like, oh, which item do I go for, which rune do I go for, whatever, right? So this is quite easy to do. Go ahead, do that. Let's move on to the next section. Let's talk about Qiyana's abilities next. We will talk about the passive as the last ability, since the passive interacts with all of your main abilities. So let's start. First of all, you have the Q ability. If you are more advanced, you can skip this. There might be some details that you might not know, but generally speaking, if you are more advanced, you can skip this section. Let's start with the Q ability. So the Q has an unempowered form, which you can use without any element, and it's this short, as you can see. This is quite important to use in specific situations. I just want you to know about this, okay? And you can also skill Q level 1 in order to, for example, kill 3 minions at once if they are getting low at the same time. So you just Q them and kill them that way. The next ability with Qiyana is the W. So the W can either be used to grab rock, it can be used to grab ice, or it can be used to grab grass. And as you can see, Qiyana is traveling a short distance, so it's a nice little dash that you have, and you can also use this to get over walls. So you can first do this, and then if you are standing close to specific walls, you can just jump over them that way, right? You can do this at a lot of walls. You can do this at the dragon wall, at the baron wall, but only on the thin parts of it. And now I will also show you some really important examples of some walls that you might not think that you can skip. You can skip this one as well, which is really, really important. You can skim this ward right here, a wall. And what you can also do, and this is a very important one, you can jump over this wall. Okay, we'll get to that later on. Qiyana's W ability empowers her with an element. Let's talk about the rock element first. So the rock element executes people when they are below 50% HP. So you don't want to use it initially. This is very important. You want to start with ice or grass and then transition to rock as soon as you think that you can kill them. Then you have the grass ability. The grass ability, if you Q it, will give you stealth for a specific time. I think it's 3 seconds. So this means that you can move yourself in this stealth, and it's really important that you play around it properly, right? We'll get to that later on as well. And then you have the ice element. If you use ice, what will happen is that you can root an enemy. So you can root them for like half a second, and this makes setting up for the rest of your kit quite easy. And then we also have the ultimate, right? So with the ultimate, which is quite easy, you have some details that you need to know. So first of all, if you place the R onto the dummy here, what will happen is you are dashing people away from you, so you are like pushing them back, as you can see, just like that. And if you hit the wall with this shockwave, you are creating an explosion, a circle that starts around the wall, and in this circle people are getting damaged and stunned. This is this is really straightforward. Qiyana's ult can also be used on the river and also on the grass, and this is like the detail that I talked about. So if you use R here, as you can see, there is this area of the ultimate that will also connect with the river, and people are getting damaged in this area. So look at this. You see this? Got stunned and also got damaged. And the same thing within grass, so it works on every single element. Take a look at his dummy, watch closely. As you can see, he got stunned and he also got damaged. So it works on both grass, and it also works on the walls and also on the ice. Now let's talk about the passive, guys. And this is a very key moment. This is very important to understand. So with Qiyana's passive, as soon as you damage someone, you deal additional damage with the first target hit. So if I Q this dummy right now, I deal 192 total damage. If I Q again, I will deal a little bit less, as you can see. The reason is that the first target hit with a specific element deals increased damage. As soon as you Q someone, this circle appears. This means that this circle just shows you, okay, you just dealt additional damage with grass. Now if you want to reset the circle, you have to change the element. And now the circle disappears and you deal additional damage again. So it's really important that you change the element after every single rotation. This means that you never really want to use double Q, or like a double rock Q, or double ice Q, or double grass Q. There are exceptions to this as well, but if it's about like damage mainly, you don't really want. And this passive applies to everything that you do. So if you take a look at this, if I auto attack the enemy dummy here, the circle appears as well. If I E the dummy, the circle appears as well. We'll talk about the E in a moment. And if I Q the dummy, the circle appears as well. So this passive just deals additional damage with the first target hit of each element. And that's why you want to switch up elements. So for example, ice into rock, ice into grass, whatever. So that's the main part where Qiyana's damage actually comes from. Next up, we have Qiyana's E. This is really easy to understand. Qiyana's E is a fixed distance that you can see right here. So this is the distance that Qiyana's E can travel. And if you are standing close to an enemy, you are dashing through it. If you are standing further away from an enemy, like at the max range for example, you are dashing to it, as you can see. It's a fixed distance. Now we have to talk about, I would say, the first combo, right? So this is an interaction. You can think of it as a Yasuo EQ. If Yasuo uses EQ at once, what will happen is that he will do this circle tornado thing, right? With Qiyana, it's the same thing, right? If you EQ, what will happen is that the Q will auto-aim the dummy. So if I'm Eing through the dummy and I'm pressing Q right after it, as you can see, the Q is still going through the dummy. And this can be used to hit targets with ice, for example. So EQ with ice and then they are rooted. And then you can follow up with the rest of your ability. That's all you need to know for now. We'll talk about more of this spicy stuff later on. And for now, let's move on to the main laning concepts that you need to understand with Qiyana. Alright, you guys, let's talk about laning concepts with Qiyana. And before we talk about the actual lane, what we have to do is we have to talk about what are you doing before the lane starts. Instantly after you get out of base, run into this bush. This makes it really easy for you to be able to get here first, and no one can actually get into this area, so you are pretty safe while doing this. And now what's happening is that, as you can see, I'm just walking up here, I'm placing a ward at the Raptor camp. Usually I'm running Electrocute, this was just an exception. And now this ward would be a deep ward, and that's quite an important factor. That's why we're running deep ward, because this ward lasts here for a very long time, and that makes it easy for us to track the enemy jungler. So that is the first concept that you need to know. Now we have an Akshan lane right here. Many people would consider this a very hard lane. I showed this lane already in one of my last videos, but this is just a textbook example of how you should play Qiyana. As you can see, I'm not really doing anything here. I'm not skilling anything. I'm not doing much. I'm really just giving him everything that he wants. Now I'm grabbing my W and I'm grabbing grass. Why am I doing that? I realized that I cannot go for these creeps anyways. Even if I skill Q, he can just walk up, he can use a Q and auto attack, and then I'm like chunked quite hard, so I don't want to do that. Instead of doing that, I'm preparing for my level 2, grabbing grass. So using grass, getting into the lane is the first very, very important factor. As you can see, I'm trying to walk up, but I'm not really like getting the minions because he was trying to pressure me there. And now you can see exactly what's going to happen here. I'm just getting this creep because it's quite safe. I'm using Q here, and as you can see, the Q, as soon as it hits an enemy target, has like a second explosion. And that second explosion makes it easy to hit people behind minions. But in this case, Akshan was actually standing far enough away from it, so it didn't hit him. And now what you can see is that I'm grabbing grass again, because I'm preparing. With Qiyana, you always want to grab grass getting into level 3. And now I'm trying to poke him out. So what you can do is you can bait people to walk into you with Qiyana if you are holding grass. And if they try to trade, you can just grass Q them. They can't see you anymore, you are invisible, and it's easy for you to just get a nice little poke. Just like right here. So I proc his bone plating, then I grab ice. I make him walk up again here, as you can see. And then I ice Q him so he can't like follow up with a Q or something. And I grab grass again, because now I know the next 2 melee minions of this wave, so these 2 minions will give me level 3. As you can see, I was playing quite far back. I didn't hit any minions, I didn't lose any HP, and now look what changes. Now suddenly I start hitting minions, and I'm starting to hit the minion that all of my minions are hitting here, in order to kill it as fast as possible. That way I can get level 3 earlier, and I can make it, like I can have an easier time to fight this Akshan. So as you can see right here, I'm auto-attacking the wave, and now look how aggressively I'm posturing. I'm not standing here attacking the minion, I'm standing here hitting the minion. Already knowing I will get level 3, already wanting to use my E here to jump onto the Akshan. Look what happens. I get level 3, I instantly skill it, and I instantly jump onto the Akshan. I use an E auto attack Q, so let's go back. I skill my E, I E auto attack Q, then I grab auto attack him again, use Ignite, I W forward. He even wastes his flash, and yeah. There you go, that's an easy early kill. Now I can just push this wave in and keep playing my lane. And this is how you play Qiyana, guys. This is how you literally have to play Qiyana every single lane. I want you to stay healthy. This is the first laning concept that you need to know. Stay healthy, right? I mean, the first thing would theoretically be the Raptor ward that you can also do every single game. So the Raptor ward. Then you have stay healthy. You want the wave on your side. Right here, really, really important. And then the next thing that you really want to do is you want to prep the level 3. So try to poke him out a little bit, don't lose any HP while doing it. And be aware that you will get level 3. Have intuition with this. And also hold grass. So that is also one thing. You want to hold grass before getting level 3. Right? And also before getting level 2. So you need to rotate through your abilities well. And after grass, you either want to grab rock to kill, or you want to grab ice to switch up the passive damage that I talked about earlier in this whole coaching, I was about to say. In this whole, how's it called, video. Yeah. So that is just something I can advise you to do. These are the only laning concepts you need to know for now. This is really easy. For beginners, this is totally enough. You don't need to know anything else. And if things get more complicated, as I mentioned, guys, I have a coaching program. Join it. $5 per month only. Super cheap. And at the same time, you gain access to 16 live sessions per month. That's insane value. So check that one out. Send me a DM if you have any questions on Discord as well. And now let's move on to the next topic. Okay, guys, let's get to the spicy stuff right now. So what I will do now, this is a beginner-friendly Qiyana guide. So what we are doing is I'm only showing you specific combos that are really effective to use, and I want you to learn them first. There are multiple videos on my channel about other Qiyana combos that are more complicated, But for now, I just want you to focus on these specific ones. The first thing you want to do, guys, to actually practice, you want to grab grass, and I want you to walk up to this dummy. The first thing you need to know is you can cancel Qiyana's auto attack animation. So you can auto attack normally. As you can see, this animation is quite long, right? Quite a long animation. If you use the Q in the beginning of the auto, so auto Q, as you can see, the Q comes out very fast and you can actually cancel the auto attack animation. So look at this. Auto Q. Did you see that? So this would be if I don't cancel the animation. Auto Q. Quite slow. And now if I walk up again, auto Q. So you have to press the Q in the beginning of the animation. And I want you to do this like 15-20 times. So auto Q. Grass. Auto Q. Grab grass. Auto Q. Just practice this. And as soon as you got it, we can move on to the next step. So if you have the wave on your side of the map, if you are level 3, and if the enemy is walking up too close, this is a trading combo that I want you to use mainly. You can either EQ them, as mentioned, you just EQ them, and then you WQ backwards to proc electrocute. That is the first thing you can do. So you have EQ, then you walk out in stealth, and then you WQ backwards, right? That is the first thing you can do. The second trading combo, and this might even be the more important one in most matchups, is that you are Eing onto the enemy, and then you are using this auto attack cancel that I just showed you. So E, auto Q. That way you proc electro, and then you can still WQ back forwards. So this is a really, really nice trading pattern. So this is how it would look. E, auto Q, and then WQ backwards in order to make up some distance and also walk out and stuff. These are the two main trading patterns that you need level 3 in order to get a really good trade going. You can either jump away there and W backwards, as I showed you, or what you can also do, guys, if they actually screw up, is you can E, auto Q, and then grab rock on top here, or like here to the side, and just stay on their side and walk them down this path. So if you think that you can actually kill them with Ignite, which I don't have right now, you can just run them down, run by their side, and just keep auto-attacking them. Keep auto-attacking them, keep auto-attacking them. And I will now show you this exact rotation that you will have. So with Qiyana, when it comes to the rotations, what you really, really want, as I mentioned, you grab grass, you have the auto-refresh cooldowns off right now, so it would look like this. You E, auto Q, and grab rock instantly. Then you auto-attack them down, and as you can see, the W is about to come up. So you just auto-attack them, and as soon as the W comes up, you can just QWQ them. And that is how you can kill enemies very, very easily in the early game if they walk up too close. So this works if they walk up to like this spot right here. You can just E onto them and do exactly what I told you. These are the only two combos that I want you to know for now. The only two combos, okay? Now the next thing, and this is very important. Let's say you got your enemy to like half-life maybe, and you wanna like just one-shot them. What is a good combo with the ultimate to one-shot? This is the only combo you need to know for now, okay? I want you to EQ the enemy. That is the first part. EQ. And then you want to ult them to the wall that is the closest. And that you want to ult them to, right? So you have to kind of know where you want to ult them before you EQ them. So let's say I want to combo this guy. I know that I will ult him onto this wall. So now look at my cursor. I EQ and then I drag my cursor to the top and use my ult. And then after the ult you can W forward and you can auto attack Q. So let me do it again without the auto refresh cooldown. So you see that this actually works. So I EQ the dummy. I R, and then I W, and then I auto-attack Q. You can see I used my entire kit, I got all my damage off. Beautiful. Let's do it again. I'll do it now very slowly. So what you want to do, you want to hold ice. And now take a look at this. So you EQ, then you ult to the direction where you want the enemy to fly. Then you W while the R is flying, and then you can auto-attack Q. And this is the only combo that you need to know to like kill people consistently on Qiyana, like when you are starting out. Getting to like higher elos, that doesn't work, but for now that's how it is. So that's how it can look if you are really fast with it. As you can see right there. So EQ, and then you can R them while you are already in Q into the right direction. And then you can W forward, auto attack, Q them, and this is the main combo that you need to know. And now, and this is also something you can try and do, you can buffer your E. This means if you click onto the dummy and then press flash, wait a minute, if you click onto the dummy and then press flash, the E will come out immediately, as you can see, as you just saw right there. So if I E and then flash, the E comes out immediately after I flash, because then my character is apparently in range and the E will be casted, because you already casted it before. Compared to using flash E, that's a lot slower. As you can saw, my character just stood there for like half a second, instead of like doing it a lot faster. So this is with the buffer. Just take a look at how fast it is. It's extremely fast. You can't even like see the animation. And now let's actually do it without the buffer. You can see the difference, right? It's just slower. And now you can use that exact combo that I told you. So you E onto the dummy, then you flash Q, and then you have the same position that you had before. Now you just ult them, you W them, and then you use an auto attack Q. So you use flash, EQ, R, W, auto Q. And that is a combo that you can use if the enemy is standing quite far away. And this is the only like engage combo that you need right now. And now I will show you one more combo that is especially good for team fights and for objectives. Let's say that the Baron is up and the enemy team is doing the Baron here. What you really need to do is you need to hold grass, and then you Q over this wall. And then you have three options of what you can do. You can Q over this wall and you can grab ice. So you can either do this, so you Q and then you grab ice. You can then also, like that, this is the second thing you can do. You can Q and then grab the rock on this wall, as you can see if you are closer to the wall. And what you can also do is you can Q over and grab grass. So you can decide which one you want. I personally like to grab double grass. So you grass Q over, then you grab grass again, and then you can ER them onto this objective right here, as you can see. And this is the main thing that you want to be doing in team fights. And you want to play it slow. So with Qiyana, the way you play team fights, this is also something you need to know, is you grass Q, grab grass again. You grass Q, grab grass again. Stay far back. You grass Q again, right? You just spam grass until you see an opening, and as soon as you see the opening, you can start using the ult properly, okay? And these are the main things that you need to know about Qiyana when it comes to combos and stuff like that right now. So let's actually move on to the next topic and talk about Qiyana's macro. Alright, you guys, let's talk about Qiyana's macro. First of all, we'll talk about the early game macro. In the early game, there's only really one thing you need to know, and that thing is related to Qiyana's rotations. So let's actually say you are playing the lane here with your enemy laner, right? Minions meet in the middle of the lane at 30 seconds and at the full minute. This means that at, for example, minute 5:30, the wave will meet here, and at minute 6 it will meet there again, and at minute like 6:30 it will meet there again, right? So it always meets after 30 seconds in the middle of the lane. You can keep this timer in your mind. So let's actually say you managed to shove in the enemy, and we currently have minute 9:15. What you now know is that you can have like 15 seconds, I would even say like maybe even 25 seconds, to move your champion to any side of the map, do whatever you want for like 25 seconds, and then you have to be back to meet the wave at the tower, right? If you keep this time in the back of your head. That way you don't lose XP and you can easily start roaming around the map. And when it comes to playing objectives, I personally prefer grubs over Drake, generally speaking, because grubs are really, really good for side laners, and side laning is quite important. We'll talk about that in a moment. And now what will happen is that with Qiyana, most of the time, you want to get a reset at some point before minute 5:30, because that's the time where the grubs are spawning, or that's the wave that appears before the grubs are spawning. So this is the first macro concept that you need to know. Just try to get a reset before that, and then arrive in lane, try to get this wave shoved in, and then move into the grubs here at the right time in order to make something happen and to have a good fight with the jungler. If you see that your jungler is not going for this and they want to go Drake, that is fine. Then you can also try to just like go for the dragon, right? So this is the main thing that you need. Let's now talk about the stuff that happens after the laning phase. And this is quite interesting, okay? There are more concepts than this, but I will keep this very simple and short, since I don't want to overwhelm you here, and I just want to give you the most basic macro concepts that you can use in your games with Qiyana, okay? This is very theoretical, generally speaking, but this is most of the time what happens. So most of the time what happens is at some point your bot laners go into the mid lane, and you as the mid laner, you have to redeploy. Because one of those towers has fallen most of the time, either mid lane or bot lane, whatever, right? And then you like switch up the assignments. So what happens now? there are objectives on the map. For example, there's Dragon and there is Herald, right? Let's actually say that Herald or Grubs are up. And this is a very important concept when it comes to playing Qiyana. Qiyana is a very good team fighter, and you want to play around team fights properly. So this means that you have to be at the action when it happens. If you are running Ignite, for example, and you know that your bot lane is currently mid, right? And the enemy mid laner, let's say he's shoving out the wave right here, and your tower is right here. So this wave needs a lot of time to reach this tower, like 2 minutes maybe. Usually with Qiyana you want to go into the side lane, but in this case it makes more sense to go mid and just deploy here behind this tower and wait for something to happen in this area. This might sound stupid, but they don't see you if you are standing here. And there's no point going bot, it's just dangerous because you can get ganked by the jungler, right? And there's no point going bot here. So what you can do is you can just stick behind this tower, try to wait for something to happen. And then if a fight breaks out, you are here, boom, surprise, you have your ultimate, stuff like that, you can easily make stuff happen. I see so many students just walk bot here blindly because they want a side lane, but in this case it wouldn't make any sense. There is a difference between the wave being here though and the wave being here. So let's actually say that the enemy mid laner is shoving the wave down to this tower, right? And he's currently standing here, so he is standing right here. And now you realize, okay, where do I go? You cannot do the same thing right now, simply because you have to catch this wave at the bot lane tower. So what you now try to do is you try to go bot, you try to clear this wave, and then you try to push the enemy mid laner in, and then move yourself and try to do something here. So what happens most of the time with Qiyana is that you want to shove the wave in right now, and as soon as you shove the wave in, you can move. And what happens is that the enemy mid laner is stuck on the tower, they have to catch the wave here, and you have time to move into the bot lane here. You don't really have to do much, you just have to sit here and cover them, and if an angle pops up, you can try to do something onto this bot lane, and then like keep going from there. The best thing is if the jungler actually shows up, because then what you can do is you can keep the mid laner here, and now you can actually move into the jungle and actually gain control over the top side with your bot lane together, right? So this is something you can do. This is especially like helpful in the early mid game stages, so like mid game stages, right? So in the mid game specifically, this is what you want to do. Now we have the Ignite versus TP discussion. With Qiyana, I want you to run Ignite most of the time. The reason is quite simple. You want to have a lot of early pressure and you want to learn the champion. If you want to learn a champion, you need to limit test a lot. And by limit testing, I mean you need to try to kill your laner most of the time. And with Ignite, that's much easier. So that's why I want you to run Ignite and to limit test every single lane that you play to make your own experiences and just learn with time. So now when it actually comes to playing Qiyana here, let's actually say that Herald is up, right? Your top laner is currently resetting. So Herald is up, your top laner is resetting, so your top laner is here. And now you have Ignite, and this lane is getting pushed in. The biggest mistake you can make as Qiyana is to go bot here and ignore this Herald, while we have this situation right here. This is the biggest mistake you can make. What you have to do here is you have to send your top laner bot, because most of the time they have TP. If they don't have TP, that's a different story. Most of the time they have. And then you go top in order to defend this wave. And then if something breaks out at this Herald, you are there. If you have TP, it doesn't really matter. You can still go bot. Or what you can also do, and this is another concept that you can use, you can push mid lane out with your bot lane together. So you just go mid, you push out mid, and then you can run into the area here and do stuff with the mid lane priority that you just got. So you can go into the area here, you can place wards, right? And this is basically how you play Qiyana, starting off the mid game. So when it comes to playing Qiyana, you really want to go into get really good positions here in the top side or bot side of the jungle. This is where Qiyana shines. So if Drake is up, you probably want to do this towards the top side here. If Baron is up, you probably want to do that towards the top side. And in this case, like that's how you want to get it. And the reason why you cannot do that if the mid lane wave is not pushed out. If you try to make a play here in the jungle, and the bot lane just pushes out this wave, you can just lose this tower, right, and not get anything. But if you push in the wave first, the bot lane is stuck right here, then you can move in here with the jungler, and then you have a numbers advantage, and it's quite easy for you to do something. So mid lane priority is quite important, so you can just push out mid with your team, and then move into the area where the fights are about to happen, right? If the bot lane can do this on their own, you don't have to go mid, then the bot lane is just here. You can push out top, your jungler is probably like right here, and then you can easily just move into this area as a team this way as well, if Baron is up or like whatever, right? So this is another macro concept. And then the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to Qiyana macro is side laning, right? Especially useful if you are behind. So let's actually say you are behind right here. This is the top lane. Every lane is behind. Your bot lane is getting pushed in. Jungler is just like, I don't know, farming, whatever. And now you have the situation that the mid laner is mid lane, right? What I like to do a lot is I like to side lane here. I just push. And I make someone respond. If the mid laner responds, that's perfect. We walk mid, as I mentioned. If the mid laner doesn't respond, well, we just chunk this tower. Quite easy, right? You just get this tower. Then you move on. If the mid laner responds, as I mentioned, go mid. If he doesn't respond, well, we chunk this tower. You have no idea how many towers I got and how much gold I got. If you can get the tower, it's always more worth it than going for this fight mid lane. Like, I can guarantee you 100% it's always more worth it. So this is something that I would look out for when it comes to side laning specifically. And if you have TP, this is quite nice because you can drag people to the side, right? And this is exactly what I meant. Most of the time someone will respond. So let's actually say there's a fight breaking out right here. And your entire team is there, but you know that you cannot reach the fight in time. Let's say you are currently like right here, and the fight is already breaking out, people are dying, a lot of bullshit is happening, right? You know, the typical solo queue drill. And now you realize, damn, I can't make it in time, like standing right here. What you can now do is you can actually TP bot, if the wave is like right here, push in this tower, and now if this fight breaks out, if your team loses, it's still a win for you, because you can just get this tower. If your team wins, even better, because then you can probably even get the second tower. And if your team loses and someone backs and tries to fight you, you have to identify that, and then after that, what you can do is you can just make a little shift right here and go mid and push the next mid lane wave. And then what will happen is someone actually has to now respond to the mid lane wave as well, right? And now when your team comes back out of base, what happens is that you have a very easy time to redeploy at a time at the map and just do whatever you want, because someone is caught here and someone is caught here, because you created some pressure points of pushing waves. This is more of a high elo concept, but this is something you can always do with Qiyana, and it's just great. It always works quite well. Yeah, but this is also highly situational. What I'm giving you here are theoretical examples, right? So yeah, that's it about the Qiyana macro so far. Let's now talk about how to close games. And this is a very important topic, guys. You don't win games by getting kills directly. Kills don't lead to wins. What leads to wins are towers and objectives, because objectives make it easier to kill towers or to kill champions, which then leads to killing towers. So in the end of the day, it's always about killing towers, and in some shape or form, right? So with Qiyana, guys, it's quite important that you realize that your strength is not sieging. You cannot really siege that well because you don't really have any range, stuff like that. Assassins are never really good at sieging a tower, right? Unless you are playing something like Fizz, who can just R in, or stuff like that. But generally speaking, assassins are not really good at that. Or maybe Zed, but yeah. Usually that is not the case though. So what you want to do with Qiyana specifically, guys, is you want to create fights that are favorable for you. This means you want to create fights in those quadrants right here. So right here you want to create fights. This simply means that you need to get people to fight in here somehow. And then you win the fight, and then after that fight you can get the objective, and then you can start chunking towers and doing stuff on the map, and that's how you eventually close games. The only way to do that, there are two ways to do this, okay? And I will keep this very short and simple, guys. So there are two ways to do this. The first way how you can do this is as I mentioned, quite simple. So let's redeploy this again. The first thing you can do, guys, is you can push a side lane, right? Then you can make someone respond to that wave. And in the meantime, you move into the jungle, for example. And then what you have is a numbers advantage. You have a 2 versus 3 right here, which is good for you. Numbers advantages are one thing, and the best way how you can create numbers advantages is pushing waves, making someone respond to the wave, and then you move into the jungle, move into the mid lane, or do whatever you want to do right here at the Herald, right? And then this mid laner is always off tempo because he either has to TP or he has to like walk, but he always starts walking after you. So you are here while the mid laner is here. And now if something breaks out, you are just first to the fight. That is the first way. The second way how you can do this is you can go mid lane with your team. You can push mid lane out together. I do this really often. Or you can ping them to push out mid lane. What then happens is the enemy team has to respond.
And if dragon is up, you move together with your team into the bot lane here. And you just place wards, you use the sweeper, and you just stand in bushes, like right here, for example, or right here, or right here, and you just wait. You literally just wait and do nothing. Just wait for someone to walk up. If they walk up, great, that's a pick, you get the dragon. If they don't walk up, you go back mid lane again, you push the wave again, and you do the same thing again. And this is how you play Qiyana, guys. You just push mid lane waves, then go into the enemy jungle, and try to set up vision and stuff like that. This is the main way of playing Qiyana. These are the two main ways. And then you can fight at the objective, get the objective, push towers that way, and then it's quite easy for you to make stuff happen on the map and make sure to just get towers and win the game off. Guys, no matter where you currently are in your journey, make sure to check out the video that I'm linking in my outro. It's basically an unranked to masters, like going from silvers to masters, where I explain all of these concepts and play all those games, so you can see all the things that you just learned in action. Make sure to check that one out. And now I wish you a wonderful evening. Check out my coaching program, as I mentioned, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace out.